Welcome to the Leafy Podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Glagoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leafy Podcast. This is Tammy, your podcast manager. And on the line, we've got Brian and Jennifer from Leafy Legal Services as your hosts today. And they have another great guest. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to them to get started. Jennifer?
Hey guys, welcome to Leafy Podcast. So today we have it in the dark because everything's weird with the internet. So we're not going to do video today, but that's fine. You're probably just listening to us in your quarantine she shed or he shed, wherever you guys are. So we're talking to somebody pretty awesome for anyone. So you can just be starting out. You can have a veteran business. Our guest today has been in real estate and real estate investing for over 18 years. Today, he has a strategic role in companies focused on rental properties, real estate brokerage, property management, maintenance, construction, staffing solutions, finance, and banking. He has a background as a CPA and a certified financial advisor, but now he helps you maximize your real estate business. So let us give a big hand to Douglas Skipworth. Douglas, thank you for being on Leafy Podcast today.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you, Tammy. Glad to be here.
Yeah, that's great. So, gosh, we talked a little bit before of everything that you do and your company does. And so I think it'd be great is to, talk about kind of the property management and how you kind of got into that. Because I think you have a really interesting background. I think everybody would be interested in hearing how you finally got into property management, and then I probably can dive into things from there.
Yeah, so like most of your listeners and clientele, that we're business owners, and we had started our business and our entrepreneurial dreams as youngsters in our 20s, working corporate jobs. My business partner and I, and we had W-2s, just traditional jobs. My partner in manufacturing and myself in real estate technology. We had a software IT consulting firm that I was a part of. And so he and I both on our own individually on the side started building a rental portfolio. And for all the reasons that most people do, we wanted to create, generational wealth, financial freedom, passive income, early retirement, all the things that when you think of rental property, kind of the things that you think of, those were the motivations for us. So that was back in 2001 when we were buying property and self-managing. So we again had our day job, and then we were doing the property management on the side, lunch, after dinner, on the weekends. And as we built our own rental portfolio before the Great Recession, and then into the Great Recession as the opportunities really presented themselves, that's when we decided we kind of gotten to the point where we had more properties than we could handle on our own self-managing. And so we looked to generate some fees or generate some income to pay for some personnel to help us. And so the best way to do that was to go to friends and family and kind of say, hey, if you got some rental properties, can we manage those for you? It will generate fees for us. It will save you time, and it will allow us to get better and more professional management for our own properties. So that's really the genesis of kind of how it started, having a portfolio of rental properties that we wanted to use to turn into something bigger than just a couple of rental houses on the side. So aspirations of the folks who are listening to this podcast, just how can I build a business? How can I serve people? How can I create profitable solutions for others? That's kind of what that's what motivated us then. And 20 years later, it's still motivating us.
What do you think
Yeah.
was the biggest linchpin for propelling you from just having some, cash flow coming in to saying, no, we want this to be a big business? Was it, was it that you were unhappy at your jobs and you thought, I want to do more? Was it just a passion? Going back, what made you take the leap? Because so many people will just stay, in that, and they won't grow. What was the impetus that said, no, we're going to really grow this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you hit on a little bit with the word passion. We always say people jump into real estate. I mean, I guess jump is maybe a bad word. People strategically enter into real estate investing for different reasons. For us, I mentioned those financial freedom and kind of getting the passive income, but there was no doubt that part of that was it was going to be a foundation. That passive income and that financial freedom was not so we could travel around the world and live on beaches and get kind of the mailbox money aspect of an early retirement. It was more to use it to propel us into something kind of bigger and better, with that cash flow being kind of a stable base to start another business or buy another business or grow another business. And so fast forward to 20 years, it's exciting where we are. The surprising aspect, we didn't see it coming that we would be providing real estate services. My background was more finance and accounting. My partner's was manufacturing. We thought we might find somebody who was retiring and buy a little distribution center or a little manufacturing plant or something. So to turn it and be all in real estate has kind of been the shocker, but has been so exciting because there's nothing better, as you all know, than a service profession where you can help people day in and day out and really see them kind of where your contribution impacts today and it kind of multiplies into the future. That is so fulfilling. So for us, that's kind of what's kind of driving us.
Yeah, that's great. When it comes to property management, what are kind of the things that, you kind of found out is kind of the secret sauce in doing good property management in your guys' experience?
Yeah, no, great question, because we learned the hard way. We were self-managing these, and by self-managing, all I mean is that, if there was if anything needed to be done, we as the owners were the point of contact, as opposed to kind of third-party management where you hire a property manager to lease the property and to clean up the property, to collect the rent, and to deal with the residents. So initially we were doing all of that and learning our lessons from how do you lease a property, how do you screen prospective renters, how do you collect from those renters, how do you maintain the property when a renter's in there, how do you turn it over so that you can get a new renter. So those were the lessons we learned. And then into the property management side, the most challenging, that Brian, to your question, I mean, that's a lot of blocking and tackling, and it's a lot of it really hasn't changed that much from 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, we had an apartment and somebody wanted to move into it. They wanted to pay rent. We wanted to collect rent. They had some maintenance issues. We needed to fix those issues. None of that has changed. I mean, it is exactly the same as it was with people needing a place to stay, just that shelter, and needing somebody to provide the service. Now, a lot of the technology has changed around it, which has made it a lot easier to communicate with residents. So those tools that have come have been the things that have made it more efficient and made us maybe more effective. But at the end of the day, it's all about what we didn't know, and what you sometimes forget is really it's a relationship between two humans, a property manager and a resident. So that communication is the number one issue that you have to understand and have firm rules and guidelines to communicate. How to communicate, when to communicate about everything, whether it's maintenance, whether it's the rent, whether it's if you're dealing with an owner, there are other, once you start doing it third party management, then there's the communication with the owner of the property. So we're just talking about self-managing, most of the communications between the resident and the property manager.
Right. And what are some of those special things that you do to kind of start things off when it comes to with a new tenant or something like that? How do you kind of create the, I don't know what the right word is, but basically
Set the stage, or
set the
yes.
stage
Yeah.
for, how are they, supposed to communicate, how to get to that level where they have that good open communication.
Yeah, expectations and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And so expectations is a word. So we would use it either onboarding or integration. So we kind of use those words interchangeably about resident onboarding or owner onboarding, or just that whole integration process. And it's a lot of here are the expectations, here are the resources, and presented, a lot of going over in virtually either on the phone or through the web, a lot of tools through what we have a property management software that provides a portal for the owners and for the residents, so that they're able to have some resources, and then to have that open communication through that portal for kind of a chat or dialogue back and forth to communicate. So the expectations are clear on here's when rent's due, here's how you pay rent, here's what happens when there's a maintenance order, or you have a maintenance issue, here's what's covered, here's what's not, here's how to handle it, here's your contact in the office, here's your contact through the portal, to just to be clear, kind of a lot of expectation setting, kind of is what Jennifer was saying. That's the exact word we use, because you got to come in with clear expectations, because as you and I know, that's where the problems meet with unfulfilled expectations. Somebody's got the wrong expectation.
Well, yeah, because we're legal services, so we make sure everything's in writing. Then they
that's right.
So then they can't say anything. It's all in writing. You just have to read it. It's right here. Here's the chart. Or whatever.
Yeah. And we do the same thing, whether it's the application process, and we'll get a website that documents everything, whether it's an application, whether it's through that whole leasing process and through the maintenance, through the ledger and through the portal, where everything is documented. Because and that's the hard part for self-managers. A lot of times they cut corners themselves, and they'll pull something down from the internet that, here's a lease that looks good, or here's an application that looks good, and it's not really customized to what they're doing. It's
the wrong state, and they don't realize it's the wrong state, or it's just a form that they got, off of, and so they filled out the form, but they have an extra expectation. We were I was on Bigger Pockets responding to someone who got very angry when they showed up for their verbally agreed upon quarterly inspection of a $900,000 California house, that the homeowner was quite angry that they were there, and because they did not give them any written warrant maintenance, and they said, we're sorry, we talked to you about this, and she had just given birth and she didn't want someone in there, and she told him to leave, and he didn't. There is so much you're going to get in trouble for that if they decide to press it. And so you have to tell them, number one, you can't have anything verbal if it's off the charts, and quarterly inspections are non-standard, right? You have certain times you can inspect. You have to give the person notice, because yes, you might own that house, but when you have an agreement and a lease, they have possession and possessory rights to that house. So the moment she asks you to leave, she's in possession of the house. You are supposed to leave. You're not supposed to just blow her off and say, you're just upset because you had a baby, which is what he told her. And then,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. This is an expensive house for me. He was protecting his properties and protecting his investment, and he had to do that inspection. And I'm like, wow, okay. And, in the end, hundreds of people responded, not just me.
Yes.
And we just said, hey, that property manager is going to be the best money you'll get, because he was actually personally and emotionally hurt that he was treated poorly when he was just trying to take care of things, and he had ended up trapping a rat under the house, and, he was helping them. Right. And so you could tell there were no expectations that were really set, other than a little conversation. So if you're going to do that, don't do it. Number one, I don't care if you're renting to your cousin that you grew up with and y'all are best friends. getting a property manager is the smartest decision you can do if you get into the rental business. Have someone else who knows the laws, handle it, and have it be done professionally, because you'd be amazed at what starts to crop up, and we've heard it all, man.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you get the same thing daily with people who, want to do their wills or set up their own LLCs or to do their own legal work. It's just, that's what you guys do professionally. That's the way to go. So,
you need to go to professional. So if somebody was getting into it and they're like, man, Doug sounds really cool, and I'm here in Tennessee and I want to, maybe I should talk to him. Can they just reach out to you? You have a LinkedIn, right? Is that how they get to you? Or is there a website that they can go to?
All the above. Yeah, they can find me personally on LinkedIn. You mentioned Bigger Pockets, where I'm active. A lot of my colleagues are active on Bigger Pockets all day, every day. And but CrestCore.com, that's CrestCore.com is our property management website, and that you can link in the show notes, I guess. And there are all kinds of resources for owners to see if we can help them in Memphis, Jackson, or Dyersburg, Tennessee, or B, if they just want to learn for another market that they're in. What's a good property manager look like? What are questions to ask when you're interviewing a property manager? We've got all kinds of resources.
Yeah, those are invaluable resources, guys. So it's CrestCore.com, and Douglas is right. Like always, we'll put all the notes there so you can reach out to them in a myriad of different ways. But we're still continuing to talk to you. I just wanted to take a little break.
Good. Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
That's
to tell
good.
people, to give people some info in the middle in case y'all have to go. You have a short lunch in your quarantine. Then you have that now.
Well, I just just one thing that came up that I just thought was so interesting, as it's so applicable to this conversation we're having, is that because we set expectations, because we communicate, and because we're living in this crazy time at the time we're kind of recording this podcast is in the height of this coronavirus COVID-19, and I personally got a text from an old tenant I've been working with for many, many years, and she texted yesterday here at the end of March and said, she was just really proactive in her communication. And so I just want to encourage people that if you have that dialogue, how you can work through situations by being open. She said, I'm going to pay rent in April. I'm all covered. They cut my hours back at my job. So May is going to be a little tough. Can we work out a payment arrangement for the month of May? And of course we can. So the way she was very proactive, because we had already established a communication and a way to work together, that we can make exceptions, go around, the rules in those scenarios if everybody is forthcoming and working together, as opposed to her just showing up in May with no rent and us having to track her down and figure out what's going on. So that's just the way it's supposed to work. It was really great.
Yeah, because being proactive is important now that they have said no evictions, and everybody needs to stay rent. So, for real estate investors, you're probably like, what? We're seeing a lot of that. And you're like, yeah, you're going to have to come up with a new plan. You're going to have to fill out all these SBA things. You're going to have to be very proactive with that, because they're not going to pay. Not if they have a stay, right? And they do their paperwork, because I guarantee you, if 3.38 million people within the last 4 to 5 days have filled out unemployment claims, they are going to get every single benefit allowed by them. And you need to act in the same manner. So you need to be proactive in getting your paperwork out there and doing what you can. And I know it's a pain. The SBA website's been down. Now you have to download the forms, fill them out, and upload them, and you get an error. There's no way to track them because you can't log in anymore like you used to. So
yeah,
I don't know how they changed the website completely. I was on page 3 going, I'll finish it whenever it goes through, but I'm going to get all the pertinent information in so I can just hit send. That's what I'm thinking. And it took so long because the online app kept on hanging and hanging. Because I knew what was coming on, being proactive is our jam, man. So then it was down completely down. And when it came back up, it was a different site and everything was wiped out that I had done before.
Oh,
and
man.
now it's all manual process.
Yes.
And there's not a way to track. So I sent an email saying, hey, how can I follow where in the process this is? And the email said, we're experiencing a high volume of emails right now. So yeah, it's frustrating, but do what you got to do. Everybody's going to just do what you've got to do. And hopefully, this will drop when it drops, but hopefully people will have been proactive a little bit. We're trying to get it out.
Yes. And obviously my point in that story is just that the communication, if you establish rules and expectations and you have a relationship, then you can make exceptions, because of the relationship, as opposed to everything being reactive.
That's right. And she will pay even though she might have a stay in that area, because you've already established something. She's already worked out with you and she wants to continue a good relationship. So that's also important too. Even, sometimes if you have that great of a relationship, even though people can, maybe they won't, and they'll realize that we're all in it together,
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's and that's what, as you know, I mean, our whole economy is based on trust and people trusting each other on the other side of the transaction. So, as we work together and build that trust, it really goes a long way. And so that's the type of relationships we try to build with, whether it's residents in property management or other folks we work with in business, just long-term. And it's one of our core values is relationships, and building long-term relationships as opposed to just transactions.
Yeah, because I mean, right now it's a bit of an extreme case. Everybody's in the same boat. But what if you do have a tenant down the line that either, how do you find the right tenant for someone that, will less likely have these issues or would be forthcoming? Do you have kind of a way that you're kind of looking at tenants to make sure that they, even if they do have issues, they're more willing to come forward versus ones that will kind of try to use the system for themselves?
Yeah, good question. So we do have a formal application process, and through that process, there are opportunities for residents to provide information, and then we turn around and do some credit and income and background checks to verify that information. So that's usually pretty good right there to make sure that everything for the good old accountants, that everything ticks and ties and reconciles, or just everything matches up. If they say this, then that's really what we find as well. Then we do some reference, some landlord reference, as well as some employer reference. So, and what
have you found to be kind of the biggest thing that's helped you maybe avoid a bad tenant or, possibly a bad tenant of the things that you check?
The eviction history is the best. So not credit, because sometimes credit, people get put into bad situations through medical bills or through life happens, and we understand that. But not paying your rent and getting it. We found, because we've been doing this a long time, we found that in the Great Recession that housing, utilities, transportation, and food were pretty much the core necessities. Everything else was discretionary. So again, when you fast forward, people pay their rent. And so if they get kicked out, if they're evicted for some reason, and that's a public record, that they could have perfect credit and get kicked out. They could have bad credit and never get kicked out because it is such a high priority to pay that rent. So for us, that's the number one thing that we look at is eviction history. And that usually determines if somebody's never been evicted, chances are they're not going to be evicted.
Got it. Okay.
Not going to have trouble long term.
Right. I mean, it's always good. I mean, as people want to get in real estate, normally they rent it out, and the last thing you want is a bad tenant, because I've been in that situation before, and it's probably the most frustrating thing in the world to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's and to that point, it's not, you would think, oh, it's income or it's credit score, but it's not. It's, that if you had to boil it down to one thing, obviously you want the income to match, to be a certain percentage or certain times of the monthly rent, but it's eviction history. So anyways, I interrupted you, Jennifer.
Oh, no, I was just about to say, as with everything in any business, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Amen.
Do the background checks. Don't gloss over the paperwork. So many times you'll get people who want to haggle over a leasing agreement, or what about this and what about this? Those people, I automatically get a red flag in my head. Like, really, this is, especially since most of them are standard, like, have your standards. It's okay to say no.
Yes.
Big apartment complexes do it. And I know it's harder. You got a tenant. Okay, great. Let's just turn this around. But it's okay. And sometimes it's quite right to say no and to let it go for a couple of weeks, even a month. If that one person, you have all your flags are going off.
Right.
I've seen many people who every single red flag was screaming, about a tenant, and they put them in there anyway because they wanted to get a tenant, and then bink, 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 it happened. Just what we thought was going to happen. So, like, don't do it. Trust your gut on some things. Trust your gut.
Yes.
You're allowed to rent to who you want to rent to, as long as it's not discriminatory in any way.
Yep.
But if all of your spidey senses are like, no, believe yourself, and
Well, amen. Well said.
so anyway, we're going to have to be wrapping it up. So we're
Okay.
going to, Brian, Brian always has the best questions. So
He does. I'm
yeah.
impressed.
Now I've been put on the spot. Gosh, I have to think of a good one now. I mean, with everything that you're doing and things like that, it sounds like you guys have quite a bit of services that you're helping people with. What are some of the things of the things that you've learned the hard way that you would kind of offer someone that is getting started either in real estate investing or looking for a good property manager? What kind of things would you suggest them to do?
Yeah, that's great. A lot of education, a lot of self-education is great. Through books, podcasts like this, and then the relationships that you can build through service providers or networking, things like bigger, again, like Jennifer mentioned, bigger pockets, getting in there and asking questions. So first I would do a lot of self-education. And then the second thing that we encourage people to do is to really to understand the purpose, kind of the big why, what's driving you to do this. Specifically, is it for future income, or is it to a platform, to create a platform for something else? But what's driving you, so that if you know why you're doing it and you can share that with the folks you're working with, or the team you'll build, then everybody can kind of be on the same page and help you get to what it is you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, you're working with a lot of people who, like all of us, we're self-interested. So we're going to try to provide the service that we think you need. But if you don't let us know, we're just going to have to do what we think is best, which might not align. So having a really clearly defined purpose, why, kind of driving you, and sharing that with folks has really helped. As we've worked with people who, what they're trying to accomplish, just the clear what their goals are, and then we can help them develop the strategies they need or the tactics they need to accomplish that.
Okay.
Well, man, this is all really, really good advice.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that eviction history, that's one. So we're going to want to put that in there as the golden tidbit. And if you guys want anything more, you can go to CrestCore.com. That's CrestCore.com. And or reach out to Douglas Skipworth, who we're talking to right now, on his LinkedIn. Just look up Skipworth, Skipworth. And Tammy, it's time for you to take us away.
All right. Thank you again, Douglas, for being on with us. And
was
Jennifer
great.
and Brian, yes, thank you so much. And I will have everything to contact Douglas in our show notes, as always. If you need to get a hold of Leafy Podcast, if you have any questions or comments you would like to leave, just email me at Tammy, Tammy, at leafylegalservices.com. And if you would like to look up our services or take a look at our free ebook for asset protection on our website, or book a consult with Jennifer, just go to leafylegalservices.com. You'll find everything there. Again, we are on all of your podcasting platforms at Leafy Legal, and also on all of your social media if you'd like to look us up there as well. So hope everyone is safe and sound in their homes, and please take care. We will see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.